Hello fellow map makers, welcome to another live map making session. Hope you're all fine, not burning up too much in the late summer heat. Here it's pretty bad in some places. Here it's fortunately just cooled down a bit last few days and it's actually quite pleasant, though still too dry. We desperately need some rain, but it looks like it. There might be some coming on the weekend and next week. All right, nice to see lots of familiar names in the chat. Welcome. Hope you've already downloaded the latest annual issue, just released this afternoon. And I'm going to take a look at it today. If you haven't, you don't need to do that right away unless you want to follow along. But it might still happen that I notice a little error or something in tonight's session. And if I do, I'll update the setup so everybody can grab any corrected stuff. All right, so let's see what we can do. At least the topic today should cool us down a little bit, at least our maps, because the topic of the September's annual issue is ice caverns, and it's a limited scope drawing style, but that can extend Dungeon Designer 3 styles with lots of ice and snow stuff. So it's a kind of a hybrid of a style extension and its own style. And we are going to check out what we can do with it just on its own tonight. So once you've installed it, you start CC3 Plus, you'll get this little example map, except for the text here, obviously, when you load up Campaign Cartographer. And we can start out the new map by clicking the new map icon. Not saving any changes here. Choose map type dungeons. And you'll find it under its name, Ice Caverns. Down here, both of the templates, the metric one and the Imperial Units one. Gonna start with the Imperial Units one. And as I always forget to mention, if you have any questions during the session, please do post them in the chat. We're all doing our best to answer them, and I try to show solutions to common problems or certain questions when I can on screen. Okay, we've chosen the Ice Cavern style. Click Next, and then we get to the size of the map. And as usual for floor plans, the default size of 100 feet by 800 feet is pretty large, at least for a small map that we want to complete in one session, or complete mostly in one session. So I'm going for something much smaller, like 200 by 160 feet. And then I'm just gonna hit, actually what I want to do, I'm going to click Next here and have a look at the different fill styles we can choose to add here, because I might want to start out with a different background than the dirt gray. That's the default on the template. As you can see in the list, or at least partially, this list extends below the video screen. The fill styles for Dungeon Designer 3 are all included for your convenience. They're already in here. Interspersed with them are the new ones. Those are the ones that end with the CA 189, the annual number issue. And you can choose any of these. So let's grab a rock background. And here's the rock background from the annual. Can't see really much here because the preview uses the 1000 by 800 size, so we'll just rely on the style being something that fits our map, and we can always change that later if we want to. So I'm going to click Finish, and I'm going to go to my video folder and save the file. And here's our default background, and as you can see, it's a nice rock texture that fits pretty well for a cavern background. What we can, just in case we wanted to switch it, wanted to show you how to switch the background texture. If you decide to change it at a later time, you can always use change properties and then select by layer background, because that's the layer the background image goes on. See, we've got one entity selected. Press D for do it, and now we could switch to a different fill style here. Again, say we wanted to do lava map instead. There we go. But I'm just gonna undo that to stay with our rock texture. Yes, Sue's right. That's a reuse from one of Sue's styles. The texture in here, I'm just put together matching textures, edited some, updated some, but also used some existing ones that I think fit the topic of ice caverns fairly well. Good. So now I've got my red background. Now I'm thinking about what I want to create, and I'm thinking I want to build kind of a large sloping tunnel, like something that's been washed through a glacier by water, meltwater, and that's now dry. So this kind of icy steps or icy slope running through a large tunnel in a glacier, and then do some side tunnels from that, perhaps a monster layer or something that's there. So what I need first is a big, large tunnel going through the rock. And for that, I'm going to use the cave tool and do it in basically two sections, one for each side of the large tunnel. I want to end and exit it at the map border. So I'm gonna right click the cave tool to have a look at all the different cave tools available. And here we've got the rock texture that we've already used on the our background here. We have an ice cave, a darker and a lighter version, and also a stone tool. So what I want to do is because this is supposed to run through a glacier, I'm gonna choose the default ice texture. Let's have a look here. Default ice, this one, the darker one. It looks good. Alright, so let's have a look. And I'm gonna do the tunnel from top left to bottom right. Okay, on the gray background the line is very hard to see, so we'll just do it by feeling. This does not snap to the map border on the tool. That's because there might be some fairly strong sheet effects on the edges, and we don't want them to show up on the map border. So that's why we're extending the tool beyond the map border. You can see the extension here, but if I do a refresh, you'll see that the color of the map, the screen hides that, and we only get the sheet effect here on the edge, on the inner edge. Alright, so that's one side of our tunnel, and then let's do the other side here. So you'll notice that I'm not doing the side tunnels or any extensions yet. I'm just putting in the main tunnel. And that's the basis for our cave tunnel thingy that we'll work on. So So thinking now, should I do some side tunnels first, or should I work on the slope that I'm doing? Since I'm already working on the cave walls, I'm gonna do some side tunnels and stuff and show you the cutout tool for that, because I'm not gonna be editing these cave walls and working with that. Instead, I'm simply gonna use the cave cutout tool using our trusty color key effect to build some side tunnels. So I'm gonna do that like this. I'm gonna side tunnel here. And the cutout makes it very easy. We don't need to attach to anything. This will cut out the ice wall as soon as I refresh. As you can see, there we are. And we can combine that in any shape or form we want to do. Oh, and I'm also going to do a little tunnel here from the side. And then a couple tunnels leading off from the other side. There we've got some nice branching tunnels. Okay. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Now I want to I want to show a slope, basically going from up. The upper side should be on the top left, going to the bottom right. Something nice to slide along. And the smooth slope is hard to show. You might try a dark to light transition with many steps between, but this will still going to be hard to see as a real slope. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to do some smooth steps, like water's run down there and then frozen into certain steps on the floor. And see how we can show that on the map. We're going to use the floor tool for that, because I'm working here on the base stuff. And let's have a look at our textures for that. We've got the other ice texture, which I want to use because that sets it off from the ice texture of the wall. And I'm going to just grab that and have a look, do a first transition, or actually what I wanted to do, what I'm thinking of right now. I'm going to just cancel that and take a look here again. The floor tools here are all straight borders, but for that flow that I rather want to use some smooth polygons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a copy of the tool, call it smooth, and just change the option here from straight to smooth. And this way I do have a new tool that immediately gives me a smooth polygon. And I'm going to start, I'm down here with the first step. Actually, I'll do this direction to give it a bit of a shape of a shoot. Go here along the edges again, draw along the edge, I click to finish, and that's my first floor texture, but we don't have anything yet that indicates this is a chewed or smooth step. So what I want to do, I want to put an effect on the edge that gives me a bit of a look that there's a slope at that point. And for that we do have the bevel effect. So I'm going to go in the Floss, on the sheets and effects, and go on the Floss sheet. And I'm going to add a bevel effect. I'm not going to bother too much about lighting here. because we don't use that many shadows anyway. So I'm just using the default Bevel tool, and let's try a 10 unit bevel. Let's start with a 50% strength and a strong fade, because I want it to look as smooth as possible. And change the map units here, and just have a look first how this looks. Here we are. And you can see the bevel effect here going from light to dark, and does look very smoothly rounded. And I already quite like that. I do need another texture here below, because otherwise this is just gonna be too strong a transition from the ice to the rock texture here. So let's have a look how we can extend that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add another floor sheet below this one. So I'm gonna call that Floss -1, because it's below the first one, and that might give you an indication that we still need more of those. So I'm gonna go Floss -1, and I'm gonna use the same tool again and just make it longer, extend beyond our previous texture, like this. Okay. No. I think let's have a look at the Floss tool. It does look like it's gone on the other floors, or this was still my current one, or is I might have not changed the sheet that I was working on, or the Floss tool might not be set up to work on any. Yeah, but it is. It says Floss asterisks. That means it should go on any current sheet I have active that starts with Floss. So I was probably just didn't change my current one. So I'm gonna simply do move to sheet and move that to the -1 Floss sheet, and that's where we are. That looks better, and you can see here that that's what I wanted. Now on the sheet below, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grab the bevel effect and paste it on the other sheet, and this way I'm gonna build a series of steps basically showing the transition from lower to higher. So I'll just need a few different sheets to add to that. But what I can also do here, I'm thinking I might not need the rock texture here if I want to do all as ice texture. And I'm gonna change the fill style of the background, just as I showed previously. And the other ice texture I'm using. There we are. Okay. Yeah, we've got a question from the about the hard edge of the bevel here in the southwest. Here, as you can see, that's because of the lighting of the bevel. Because basically you see the light edge of the bevel here and not the shadow, and that's why it does look like the strong edge. What I can do to mitigate that a little bit is I can go in and add glow effect on that. Let's use a dark blue for that. Low strength. Let's try 2 feet. and there you can see that the edge is set off more strongly, but that's basically the lighted edge of the bevel. That's why you don't see the shadow there as you do on the other section. And I should I'll make it a little bit. Oh no, I think that's okay. But I will also grab the. Oops, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to copy the glow and also put that on the sheet below, so I do have the same effect here. See the same effect on the edge of the of the polygon down here. So I'm gonna add a couple more, or a few more sheets. I'm gonna do a floss -2. And add a floss +1, +2, and +3. And I'm also gonna put the same sheet effects on all of them. Go, and then I'm just gonna use them to put a few more of these on the map. It's good. That was floss -2. And the next one. This. Oh, this switched back again. That's always a bit tricky. You've got to keep an eye on that. If you change the sheet and you were basically still in the middle of another drawing tool command, it will change the current sheet back once you start drawing with the new command. And I tend to forget that. So keep an eye on which sheet you're actually working on. There we go. Let's have a look. See how that is. If I switch to floss 2 here, that's my current sheet, and grab this tool and then start drawing. It should work fine. Yes, I'm still on floss 2 because I properly ended the previous command. Go. And one more go. See here that happened. There I was still basically in the repeat command sequence, and that's why this switched back to floss +2. Okay. There we are. And this is the general shape I had in mind. And what I have in mind now is that a small stream of meltwater is basically flowing around the middle of this tube. And that's the next thing I want to add. So. Okay, so yeah, if you're just seeing someone suggesting to blur the texture, that's something you can of course always do through the sheet effects. But I've tried to keep this fairly simple, so anyone can draw the basic shapes of this. And you can always go in and fiddle with the sheet effects yourself. No problem. So we're going to take a look at the water and see what we've got there. We've got the water tools here. And I'm going to right click that. And for running stream, I do want to use the open or default water. And now I'm just going to use this. Oh, the cat is there. Hi, Asa. Say hello and don't block my screen. Come on. You are blocking my view screen at the moment. It's hard to draw if I can't see anything. Only cat, black cat fur. There we go. Basically, the video will be on YouTube as soon as YouTube has finished processing it. Once it's finished, YouTube, I think, processes the video. And then when that's done, you can view it again. I'm going to be editing it a little bit tomorrow to remove some of the starting empty bits where we were just waiting for the stream to start. But that should not make any big difference. There we go. And there's the water. Say hi, Asa. Let's see here. We might want to play around with this a little bit. I'm thinking I do want a little bit of darker outline here on these, or darker outline in the middle. I'm gonna have a play around with that later. First off, I do want to add a bit of icy terrain along the edges of the river where basically the splash water has frozen. So what I'm going to do for that, I'm going to use a terrain tool and have a look here in my terrains. We don't have the frozen water in here. So see, what I actually wanted to use is some of the water textures. So what I can do, I can either make a new sheet for the frozen water that's below the river, or the water sheet, or I can edit, create a new terrain tool that uses the frozen water texture, and that's what I'm gonna do here. So I'm just gonna go into the advanced mode, grab one of our ice textures and create a new one and call that frozen water dark. Go into the properties, grab the water frozen, the dark texture. See, that goes on the terrain sheet. Grab that and now use this to draw an outline along our... Oh, I've got the snap turned on. I should turn that off. And outline our stream with that. Go. Let's have a refresh, and now I'm thinking, let's have a look on my water. Is my water sheet partially transparent? No, it's not, but it's below the terrain sheet, and that's why you're obviously seeing the ice terrain texture a bit above the water. So what I'm just simply going to do is I'm going to move the terrain below the water sheet, and there, that's more what I wanted. And I'm gonna add another terrain sheet here to add another layer of ice. Gonna just grab the same sheet effects, copy them over from the normal terrain sheet, and now I'm gonna add another tool here for the light frozen water texture. And going to use that to do another little bit wider outline of the stream. Doesn't need to follow that very closely. We could even sometimes overlap this a little bit. This is just natural ice that's formed there. So there's bound to be some variety, shape, and there. I like it. It looks good. What I could also do here at this point, add some indication of the stream flowing, some water splashes or something with a custom sheet, putting in some white streaks there. Actually, might be a good idea. So I'm what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add another water sheet, water splashes. Okay, and for that I'm just gonna use white and solid fill style, and then I'm gonna yeah. Always be sure that you've probably finished your drawing tool command, otherwise the properties will switch back. There we are. Grab the Polygon tool, and now I'm just simply here where the water's crossing my step. Gonna add a few splashes to give an indication of the water running. Yeah, and then why am I on the terrain snow? That was my mistake. I should have been on water splashes. I misclicked there. So I'm gonna use move to sheet on these. Put them on water splashes, and then I'm gonna add a bit of a blur to them. Half a foot should be fine, I think, and a bit of transparency. 75% apply. Let's have a look. Zooming out, looks good. And now what I can do is I could just simply copy them. It might be a bit too regular, but I'm going to do it a little bit easy. Take the easy way and just copy the ones I've drawn. Probably be nicer in the long run to change these up a bit. What I can do is I can just flip them by 180 degrees, rotate them a bit. I just don't want to spend too much time here in the video. Oops. No, something strange just happened. It's probably just a display issue here. Yeah, there we go. And that's looking nice. We've got a bit of an indication of the stream running. All right, so we've got our stream running down our tunnel. I'm pretty happy with that. Now let's go in and add a bit of symbols. For that I want to make sure I'm on the symbol sheet that I want, symbol slow. This sounds about fine for some low rocks and stuff on the map. And it's I want it definitely to be below the wall sheet so it doesn't cover up the cave walls. And the cat is still demanding attention. There we go. And then, as you can see, we do have some brightly white and bluish colored symbols for the style. These are basically reworked Dungeon Designer 3 symbols, so they match with that style very nicely, just in different colors, more suited to ice and snow drawings. And I'm just gonna take a look. Well, I'm gonna put these on the caves layer. And now I'm gonna grab, let's start with a column here, perhaps. Do I want that? No, it doesn't really match, so I'm just gonna grab some larger rocks first and just place them on the edge of the cave walls. You can see at the moment it looks like they're covering up the wall there, but if I do a refresh, you'll see that the cave wall covers them, and it does look like they are at the foot of the wall, basically half embedded in ice, which I'm going for here at this point. I can extrude them farther or not so far from the wall. Build some variety here. These are all set up to randomly select from the group as well as randomly scale, not scale, sorry, randomly rotate. So you do get a nice variety when placing them down. And then I'm going to grab the other group, the smaller stones. And just give the map some variety there. We do have some trees as well for those outdoor sections, but I don't have any outer stuff on this particular map, so I'm gonna skip them because having trees grow inside glacial tunnels is really stretching the imagination, but you never know with magic. But I'm not doing this on this map. There we go. I could add a few small ones along. What I'm thinking I might want to do is I do want to put some bit into the riverbed, although it wouldn't probably not make much sense because on the ice floor any rocks would be washed away on the slope. So actually the riverbed will probably, or the stream bed will be fairly smooth. So I'm not going to put, I was thinking of putting some rocks on a sheet below the water and add a transparency effect to the water to make them show through. But I think it's not going to be a good idea for this map specifically, so I'll skip that idea. All right. So I'm already pretty happy with how this looks, and I could add a grid at this point and do call it finished. It's a perfectly working battle map at this point. I'm thinking I could take a look if I can remember how to set up lights and everything, whether I can add some nice atmospheric lighting to the map. All right, let's have a look. First, let's add a grid. That's something I want to do because I want to show you. I'm going to take actually for this a dark blue for the grid, and then just do hex or square overlay. Square grid with say 10 foot to the grid, no labels. Apply, and I have to refresh so that the grid is set up to be nicely below the walls, so you don't get the grid on the walls, and a nice Okay, I've got another question from Torben. So how will you edit the sharp lines in the side of the lake? Now I'm not entirely sure what you mean. Do you still referring to these lines here from the bevel of the steps? I'm fine with that. The water glow. You mean the white outline of the water edge? Okay. Well, I was thinking of keeping that, but this is of course editable. You can always go in and do something if you don't want it to be the transition between water and ice at the edge so obvious. We can take a look here at the water and see this is the glow effect. I can just turn it off to see. There we got the fairly smooth transition from ice into the water. I could even turn on the edge effect to make that even smoother. See, the edge effect also has an interior opacity. See there, the inner interior transparency, the inner opacity is only 90%, so a bit of the ice shows through. Might also be something that you like. So this is more what you have in mind. There's fairly smooth transition between these things. But I'm actually don't want to. I wanted to have the edge of the water a bit clearer because it's fast running stream, and so what I could do is I could change the bright glow into a darker blue glow. See, if it's not quite as obvious, we could also make it perhaps a bit wider. Say 2 units instead of just half a unit. Yeah, I think I quite like that version. This way I'm still getting the clear edge of the water, which I want, but it's not quite as jarring perhaps. Yes. Good. So let's see water lights. If I can remember my settings, I do need to add a light setup effect. So I do want my floors and everything. Light setup, shadow length. I think that should actually go on the sheet that casts shadows. Let's start off with the walls with this, and shadow point light setup. They cast infinite light, infinity distance shadows, and then I do need a finalize effect for the light shadow colors. I could make it a dark blue to give that keep that ice feeling of the whole map. We go. See, I'm not entirely sure this is, yeah. This is correct because now everything is dark. And I didn't add any lights yet. So, and if I take a look at my global sun, It will also tell me probably the lighting is activated, and the shadow transparency is 0. So I do get to see nothing. I want to make the shadow transparency not 100%. Let's just do 60%. And now I can see part of my map again. And I now need to add some lights to show that we all have a variation of lighting in the map. So for that I'm going to put on my own lights sheet. Let's go on here underneath the... actually, just add the lights sheet at this point here. I'm gonna play around with the positioning there if that's even necessary, and also add a lights layer to organize everything nicely. And now I'm just gonna try out the first light. Light commands are in the dungeon menu. I'm gonna add a light. Center point, so I'm just gonna put down here. Got to make it fairly large. (360 degrees). Intensity, let's do 80%. Color, I want a bright blue. And there we've got a lighting effect. The only thing is that my walls are not casting the shadow that they should. Let's have a look. Where did I put my... Oops, I should be on sheets. Walls. Set up, down. No. And let's set up. Copy this. Let's have a look if I put this on the symbols layer. I think I need to check up on the lights effects again if I really want to do that. I've probably missed my memory with these if I don't use these regularly. I forget how to set up the lights correctly. But what I can do here at this point, I can copy the previous lights that I placed, do it, and add a few more light points. Ooh. And that's not what I wanted. I'm going to turn off the sheet effects for a moment while I'm working with the lights. That might work better. Copy the light and place a few more down on the map. Turn on the sheet effects again. And I'm getting the general effect of the lighting on the tunnel. That's quite okay, but I'm a bit the shadow on the walls is not correct. This should actually the wall edges should block the light, and I'm not entirely sure what I'm wrong there doing at the moment. Okay, yeah, Sue suggests something to me which might be right. If I want to, where does my finalize? Copy. You mean there, Sue? Is that right? Ah, getting there. Not quite yet. No. Up. There, we are getting better. Though we do have some strange effects. That the color key effect is now not working as expected. You do have some strange lighting interactions here. Let's see. No, that's not. Still 10. Okay, we've got some. The setup is on that sheet, so we do want the walls to block the lights. Yeah, we should probably do our own proper sheet with that. That is probably better. Now, the problem is that we do have the color key effect on the same sheet. That might be a bit problematic with the light setup. Okay. So interesting. Thinking now that I should probably do my own blocker sheet that has all the edges that block the light and only put the light effects on there. But since I've set up the walls with the color key effect, I can't simply copy them over without having the color key effect on the same sheet. So that might be a bit problematic. And I think it's going to be too much trying to dive into that now here in the session. So I'm just going to simply turn off the lighting here. There's, oh, actually, that's looking not totally bad at all. But I want to turn off the lighting simply for the moment. For that, I'm gonna deactivate lighting from this point, and this way I do have the normal map again. I can also view, hide the lighting symbols, hide light symbols, and we've got the map as we had it before. So, okay, Joe suggests that if the setup is after the color key effect, I'm still curious. I'm gonna play around with it a little bit further. You can see me messing around with the effect here. Yeah. I just, what's a bit odd is the blue to gray transition there. The finalizers on the same sheet. Move this up. Now if I have the glow on underneath that, I've got it. Now it's simply turn off glow effect. Well, we've got some odd stuff going on here. It's too many sheets in with effects with very different things happening on the map. And this is okay. No, I'm not gonna be able to set this up now. Here at the moment I need to play around more with the map with a simpler sheet effect setup. So for the moment we're going to turn off the lighting and call it done. Torben has another question. Yes, if you want to print across several pages a map, Torben asks how to set up a map to print across several pages. And that's actually fairly simple. You go into the print dialog and see if I want to print 1 inch to 5 feet on the map. This is the how I set it up with the scale factor. And if I now just print on 1 page, then it'll do a little preview. I see I only get a small section of the map to print. What I can do, I can say I want to tile my print 3 pages across, 3 pages down, say 2% overlap, so I can fit them together more easily, and then do the preview. Here you can see the preview is a bit weird because it has an issue with the symbol doubling up, but as you can see it will print across several pages, and that way you'll be able to put them together. Okay. Oh, now I've accidentally started the printing. That's not what I wanted. Let's stop that. Okay. All right. Sorry for the not quite working light setup at the end. There's another video issue on the lighting in dungeons that has better explanations and working setup, so check that out. Otherwise, I hope you like the icy caverns and play around with the LDO to create your own. Sorry, my voice is going right now. All right. The big blue lines on the edges, no, you shouldn't be getting these. The effects, you have a bit of a look how the effects work. Not all of the effects might exactly work like expected, but give it a try. You can print to several pages across to a PDF. So do that and see how that looks, whether that works out okay. Yeah. And thank you, Vivian. I really do need a drink now. I stuck a, how you call it, toad in the throat, frog in the throat. All right. Thanks you for joining me tonight, and see you again next week. Hopefully, all the best, and have a good night. Bye bye.